So, it's still August 9th. So I meditated and still reflecting on like that dream last night and how it was scary enough to where I started sweating. But even reflecting on it, like my intentions, right? Like it was really indulgence. It was really indulgence. And it was really indulgence. Like I stayed up until like 2 something. I had soup, like a lot of soup at 1. Like I should not have been eating, right? I stayed up. I was doing notes, but I was also watching not Lord of the Rings, what is it? Game of Thrones. And I stayed up and you know, it's funny because I'm just like, was I struggling falling asleep? Is that why I wanted to pleasure myself? I'm like, no, I wasn't. Like, I really had no need to. I really had no need to. It was just the ripple effect. You know, when you kind of fall into it and you're just like, oh, one thing after the next, one thing after the next, right? Those of you who have made certain choices in your life, you're like, oh, well, let's try that. Oh, well, let's try that. You know, and it just, this snowball effect, right, of choices. And so, you know, pleasuring myself was just part of that indulgence, and or at least wanting to, because I fell asleep. I ended up falling asleep without even really getting to that point. But it made me think. It made me think about, again, just the sensitivity that I am visually. Like I've always known that I'm very visually. I can become very visually overstimulated when I go into like an auditorium and there's so much to do. I'm always like, I need a minute. I need a minute to take all this in and to kind of figure out what I'm gonna do, right? Because I'm, you know, predominantly an air sign, so I'm like, whoa, like, you know, all up there. And I think I'm really struggling in this particular chapter to ground myself, because a lot of what I need to focus on is very earth. It's like the opposite of me. It's very earth, very, you know, detailed, the steps, the little steps, work. And I guess it's just I'm just still trying to balance that, right? Trying to slowly let go of the spiritual focus, in the sense of not letting it go, but just balancing it out with the day-to-day stuff that I need to do, right? Cleaning the house, you know, maintaining my body, right? And so yeah, so that's where I'm at in that. But after that dream, like I stayed up. I was awake because the adrenaline of like, you know, like, oh my gosh, like the details in the dream were intense. And thinking about, well, how does this apply? How does this impact people, you know, the creators of such stories, right? The people who created Game of Thrones, right? I mean, I remember watching the new one, and I remember I had to cover my ears. Have you ever watched a scary movie without sound? A completely different experience. And I found it more tolerable to be. I don't like scary movies, period. But when I did, because my ex liked it, and every once in a while, you know, it was something, you know, we would watch, I would have to put my headphones on, or I had to actually looked on Wikipedia under the plot, and I would read everything so that I can prepare myself for whatever surprises were going to unfold. And I remember he would get so upset. at me when I would do that, because for him it's like ruining the movie, and I'm like, I don't give a shit. I need to mentally prepare myself for what is to come, because I could feel the anxiety. So it made me think about the people who create these things, right? And just how sensitive we are. And then realizing, I'm like, well, Yubi, you haven't really been watching TV for a long time. Like, you've really monitored the stimulus around you. And that's another reason why I'm not so affected by what's going on in the world. Like, I'm really not. I hear the stories, and I might feel the pain, but not to the same degree that other people do. But at the same time, like, I could see how people who have Chiron in a certain house, they have the wound for humanity, and so for them, it's just going to impact them a lot more than it is for me. Like, that's not where my Chiron is, right? So it's just this awareness of where we all are on this spectrum. So I'm being mindful of that, being cognizant that being visually stimulated for me, I'm at a different level. It reminded me of a client of mine. A client of mine is also, he's on the spectrum, autism spectrum, and on top of that, there's OCD, true OCD, where it's there's compulsions and obsessions and even fetishes too. Like, and it's really cool to have that relationship with someone where they're finally opening up and kind of sharing the challenges. And we've been kind of going through trying to understand, right? Because I've noticed too, I've had other clients where there is OCD like tendencies, obsessive compulsive disorder tendencies, where it's more of this, like, and I don't even know if that's a real term, but it's more of like there's certain behaviors where it could potentially be that. And then only to find out that a lot of it is rooted into secrets, certain information, that there are certain truths about themselves that they are struggling to accept within themselves and then also in public. And it reminded me of my other client who experienced panic attacks. Same thing. There was, once we broke down the stories, there was always something that was not being said. And so it was building up, building up, building up, and then that's how it was manifesting. And so so going back to this one client, he mentioned being very sensitive to images, and he latches on, and then it's like this compulsion. I gotta watch it, I gotta watch it, I gotta watch it, I gotta watch it. And so we've been working on trying to distract him in session and outside session, and we're seeing the change. Like, he's not as emotionally triggered. And then there's certain compulsions, and I don't even know if I should call them that. Tendencies where he's fixated on shoes, fixations, like he's fixated on shoes, but that's a pleasurable fixation for him. Like, he enjoys it, it makes him laugh. He I think that's more on it's sometimes it's hard to separate, but I remember working with children who are on the spectrum, and how they can get really fixated on a certain topic, and then they know so much about it. It's kind of like that. So there's a relief that it provides him when he gets triggered. So we've been shifting his attention. But then he mentioned, other topics are coming up where it is more visually stimulated in regards to sexual activity and porn, and what that is evoking within him. But it made me think, okay, there are going to be people that where the, like for him, and I mentioned it to him, like, your brain just takes in the information, and then it's there, right? You're chewing on it. And so it makes sense for there to, like, limit, right, how much visual stimulation, right, you're putting into your system, recognizing that we're all on the spectrum. And so what that limit is it's going to look different for all of us, right? Because again, I'm even thinking about Christina Lopes and the whole empath stuff that I learned with her, and realizing, again, there's people, like, she just came out with a new video, and for me, I'm just like, oh, I already know that. Like, a lot of the new videos, they're just review for me now, because a lot of it is tied into the work that I do already. But I also noticed that her target populations tend to be highly sensitive people that are more sensitive to the energy and processing it. So how to survive the crazy energy out there. And what she was saying and highlighting, and made me think of my other client who recognized within her when she went to an event, there was a lot of grieving going on, and there was this intuitive knowing within her, I need to get into the water. I need to get into the rivers, because she loves swimming, into the ocean after that event, to stabilize herself. like she had to have this whole body immersion into Mother Earth to kind of cleanse the energy that she was picking up at this event. And I was just like, that's genius, right? Like I'm like, great, follow that if that's where your intuition is leading you, because clearly your body is telling you what you're needing to do. So anyway, so with this particular client, it prompted me, and it just so happened to be yesterday, it prompted me to think about the chakras. And Christina Lopes had put out another video where each chakra, there's a different focus, right, for that chakra, but it can either be the way it can potentially be unbalanced is it's either too open or too closed. And so then regardless of what extreme it is, it's going to impact the flow of the energy in your body. And so, but she made a good example of like people whose heart chakra is so open, then they become too trusting of everybody, and then they end up putting themselves at risk of being taken advantage of, right? Or they end up attracting narcissists. Like, it's just because you're just like this, right? It's too open. And then people who are too shut off for whatever reason, whether it was trauma, like it's creating, a blockage in that flow, of expansion, if you will, or the flow of the energy in that part of your, kind of like with me, with my throat chakra was the one that was really highlighted, has been highlighted for me that throughout this whole journey, this blockage where I had a hard time speaking up. And and also not just that, but the thinking back on the masturbation that I used to do when I was younger, I used it to fall asleep, purposefully to fall asleep, because I couldn't sleep at night. And then it evolved more into this when I was in the middle of the affair, there was this sexual, like, I tended to be more sexual, like I need it for relief, for excitement, for whatever. Now it's completely different. It's once in a blue moon, right? But again, so it speaks to the shift, the purpose, and what I did at the beginning of this spiritual journey. I did a lot of cleansing, and I don't think I shared it, but a lot of my intentions during the full moon and new moon was I release addictive tendencies. Like, I'm releasing it, because I tended to do it a lot more before, and I knew that about myself. And I saw the shift. Like, I just, and I would do the energy cleansing that Christina Lopes would propose to do, that you can do on your own. I'm like, let me do it. Let me try it out. And I did. And I've never been to a Reiki healer. So for me, it was everything I was doing for myself. And I would even put it like in my, because I think the whole sexual part, right, is the lower chakras. I would put my selenite stone, I would hold it, and I would kind of put it in that area. I'm like, I'm cleansing, I'm whatever statements I would say, I would say that. So then, so going back to this client, I thought about Reiki, and I thought about, if he were open to that, that might be something that might be helpful. So I asked about that while I was meditating. I was asking about the dream, and I asked about just everything that was being triggered. I asked about Reiki, if that was something that could be healing for people who struggle, with a lot of, like, either ruminating thoughts, anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorders, sexual, like hypersexuality, right? Tendencies, or and then I even thought about it. I'm like, I wonder if it's even for, like, hyperactivity, right? So the answer was yes. Oh, happy report. The answer was yes. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then it made me think about, what was the other one? I was thinking about that. Oh, there was kind of a little bit of guilt with the fact that I went to bed wanting to pleasure myself. Still struggling with that, not as much. And I remember I had a similar situation maybe last month or 2 months ago, and I remember the dream that I got was, it's about the pleasure, it's about the experience, right? As long as it's pleasurable, Only that in this particular case, I don't think it was referring, or maybe it was, because there was a sexual theme in that dream last night, but it really was more of the other, like just the other details of the dream. It was clear that it was lingering. It felt like it was just lingering stuff, like get out, like clean it up, right? That feeling of like just clean that sucker up. And so, and then this is so funny how things coincide, right? So, well-being, right? Every negative emotion creates an equally positive reality is the video that came out today that I need to rewatch because I was half asleep. But the one for um MJ Soulful Revolution, it's karma, lesson, and awakening. And in that one, she's just like, you've already learned this lesson, like you just need to move on, right? Got the t-shirt, don't want to do it no more. So I'm just like, yeah, I know this was just me overindulging. And so I thought about it some more. So then I asked well, a couple things, two parts before it, because it's already 60 minutes. So it just so happens that the video that posted for me, my video today, is called Learning How to Interpret Dreams. And then I think this is the video where I realized that Christina Lopes put that other video out about the different types of dreams. So I was reflecting on this dream and the other dreams that were kind of scary to a certain degree, enough to where I woke up like where either I was alarmed, or not the nightmare one, but the one where like the Green Hulk was coming out, and these two, there was this one, and there was another one before. I forgot what it was, but it was around the same. It was the same thing, because I that particular day, it was all day of Game of Thrones, all day of Game of Thrones, and I had that dream. And realizing, well, those are course corrections. Those are course corrections because you're overindulging, and so it's kind of like trying to like get your attention, like, don't do this anymore, don't do this anymore. It's gonna get more and more intense, because there was this progression. Like the first supposed scary dream to get, because I was sleeping in, I was being lazy, and I was sleeping in, and I knew I needed to get up, but I was like, oh, I'm so comfy in this bed. And then the bed started moving. I'm like, oh, I like that. But I knew in my dream, I knew they were trying to scare me. They meaning my higher self, right? And everybody out there. And then when I went back to bed, it was the Incredible Hulk, right? And the awareness, I'm like, oh, I remember that used to scare me when I was little. And then the most two recent dreams where it was all Game of Thrones-y type of theme, and it was kind of highlighting some of my other fears in the last one. This one was completely but still enough to evoke fear because I woke up sweating. Course correction dreams. Most of them are all course correction dreams. If you think about it, healing dreams are really to help you course correct whatever is going on, whatever blocked energy or experiences we've had. The healing dreams help to course correct you to feel more in alignment, right? Even the guidance dreams are to course correct you. Hey, this is what you need to focus on next. So it's still a course correction. Even the ones that she titles course correction, where it was this the guy who kept seeing himself crash, right? That seems more like these dreams versus the other dreams that I had, where it was actually two courses, and I was seeing how I responded in one situation versus the other, and knowing, okay, I need to pick that one, right? So that to a certain degree, they're all under that umbrella of course correction, course guidance, right? With the exception of my prescient dreams. And those, I feel like it's more of this preparation. For me personally, the ones where they felt so far away, it's not so much of a correction, but more so of a preparation. And that's what I feel like some of these other dreams have been. The ones that get highlighted a lot, it's like, I'm preparing you, and be aware that this is like the whole theme of what my role is, right? It's like preparation, so that when I come across it, it won't impact me as much, right? So anyways, I asked about that too, and yeah, I got the confirmation. So through that process, because of the little guilt that I felt, I was like, And then realizing, I'm like, oh snap, it was 8/8 yesterday. Supposedly it's like Lionsgate or something. So then I'm like, do I have to do some type of cleansing of my body because I'm holding on to all of this? And then the answer was no. So I sat with that for a little bit. I'm like, do I just need to shift my attention? Yes. I'm like, oh, okay. So I don't need to do no cleansing. It's more of just like, Yubi, just shift your attention, right? Shift your attention. Like, okay, I could do that, right? But anyways, I just wanted to highlight all of that. I think that's it for now. That's it for now. There's more. There's divorce drama, but I'm not going to go into that right now. Oh, that was a lot. That was already a lot, and I'm exhausted. That's stuff to do. Alright. P.S. I forgot to mention, after I woke up, the first time from that dream, and I deleted the HBO app from my phone, I went back to bed, slept like a baby. No nightmares. Like I slept right through. So I just wanted to highlight that. That didn't continue. Clearly, right? It was like, stop binge watching in that particular show, I guess. I mean, it's pretty grotesque if you haven't seen it. This is my second time. I've already watched it. This is my second time watching it. But clearly, it's doing something in there. So, I deleted the app, slept better, and all is well. Right. Hey you, my name is Yubi and I use she, they pronouns, and you've just finished watching a clip from my video diary entries where I'm documenting my healing journey as I learn how to navigate my spiritual awakening. I have learned that this experience and process is unique to each and every one of us in whatever way we are embracing living our truth. This just happens to be my journey. And despite me having a graduate degree and a license in clinical social work, this by no means is intended to replace any type of formal mental health advice. This is just me on a personal level, shedding light on the truth that I am learning and discovering for myself as these experiences unfold, and really inviting you along for the ride. Please know that there is a time gap between when these videos post and my real timeline, and also that these clips build upon each other similar to chapters in a book. So if you find yourself lost or confused, feel free to click on the playlist section or the link below, where you can jump around, check out the other chapters, and or catch up. Also, please know that you're more than welcome to check out my website, www.youbecominghealed.com, where I've gathered all of this information, my background, experience, and education to create online self-paced courses to help you on your healing journey wherever you are. You're also more than welcome to check out my other YouTube channel at You Becoming Healed, where I've entertained a podcast, including clips from these courses so that I can make this content accessible to more and more people. Please click like, subscribe, and share this content so again it reaches more people, with the hopes that other people will resonate and connect with the healing journey and the stories shared so that they don't feel alone in their own process. I thank you in advance. I'm grateful to you, and I wish you well.